Hi, this is Privateer Station, and today we are bringing you day 477 of Putin's invasion into Ukraine. As always, with former advisor to the Office of the President of Ukraine, Lieutenant Colonel Olexiy Arestovych, and Russian opposition politician, lawyer, blogger Mark Feygin. Today's thanks go to Olga Lewis, PSH, and Bikers. Thank you guys for supporting us. This is precious, and we do appreciate everything you do to support our channel. Also, apologies for the quality of sound. We are traveling this week, so it's been a bit challenging to maintain the usual studio quality. And with that, day 477. Enjoy. Dear friends, glad to see you all on Feygin Live. It is Thursday, June 15th, 1 minute past 10 in Kiev, same time in Moscow. Day 477 with Olexiy Arestovych. Good evening, Olexiy. Good evening. Good evening. Olexiy, as you can see, he's traveling, but we decided not to cancel our stream. We'll still try to hold it in these conditions. We've done it under different circumstances in the last year and a half, so we'll try this new format. We have about 50,000 already watching us. 15,000 of you click the like button. Please continue doing that. This is super important. Every like helps us to bring new viewers to this channel and allows us to continue producing that, because if nobody's watching, there's no need for us to do that. And do not forget to subscribe to Feygin Live, to Olexiy Arestovych, and if you are listening or watching that in English, please do the same to the Privateer Station. So let's start with the main news. I'll try to be brief today. Did you hear today that there is a Parliament Assembly of the European Union voting, and there was a good message, good result out of it, that European Parliament is supporting Ukraine's joining NATO, and has called upon NATO to try and facilitate that. I know you're a skeptic, and nothing can change in the summer in this regard, and counteroffensive probably will have no effect on this process, but in general, we can see the situation going in the direction that many countries in Europe, in Eastern Europe, are taking very serious position regarding Ukraine's integration into the NATO system. Do you think this voting might throw additional weight to this scale? Yes, of course, it will have some weight, but and everywhere where I talk directly, in the open, in private, all politicians do support joining Ukraine or accepting Ukraine to NATO. But frankly, I will be pleasantly surprised if anything changes in the long-term position. So I am staying rather skeptical. I'd rather say that we need more weapons at the moment. That would be good enough already. All right, all right. We do have also Ramstein, 15th Ramstein starting. And there are some news. What can you comment on this? So, Minister of Defense Reznik announced a coalition that might show on the radar as a result of it. There's not much information about what it means, but we did hear our opinion that Ukraine did not lose too many Leopards and Bradleys. Those several that were damaged were shot from all angles by Russian propaganda to say that, to multiply that number tenfold or even more. And Russian propaganda, their push to try to convince everybody that higher losses will preclude the West from further continuing their support of Ukraine. And once again, this appears to be completely fake, because on the level of Ramstein, it is supported that Western allies are deeply dedicated to supporting Ukraine in the future. So, do you think this Ramstein might unlock new weapons, new nomenclature items that can be supported, that can be donated to Ukraine? We'll see, Mark. It's not only Ramstein, there are also other meetings of NATO defense ministers that will be significant. And I think everybody already sees that it is difficult for Ukraine to conduct counteroffensive without being able to follow the Western doctrine. So basically, without having air support. In the Western military art, it is considered to be impossible to conduct operations that we are doing now without their support. And regardless of that, we still succeeding. We still are engaged in heavy fighting on different parts of the front. But I think our allies can see now that in our current configuration, with the current support of heavy equipment that we have, this will be a difficult process. We will be losing hardware. We will be losing infantry. We will be taking land, of course, but it will cost us quite a bit. And every drop of blood of our soldiers is precious for us. And even from the perspectives of the future equipment of Ukraine, for example, they supplied 100 units, and then something gets destroyed, and then there is a need to supply more. It's generally is a story of a bad investment. Why? Because there should have been a bigger investment at the beginning. So we understand that with this counteroffensive, however successful it will be, we will not be able to liberate all of our territories, and we will have to conduct the second, the third, and so on. And I think we will learn certain lessons out of this, and I think we will not be repeating that same situation in the future. I think we will make efforts to change our configuration on the battlefront. All right, so let's show the map. I know you don't see it. Right, Mark. I will not see it, and I will not name the settlements. I will not name the villages. But in general, maybe you can go over that. So, what's happening? We basically pushed Russian defenses, the first line of them, and in direction of Veselka, we pushed inward up to 19 kilometers. If you remember Wagner, it took them 4 months to take, and a lot of losses to take that same distance. So after that success of our army, Russian military managed to bring some of the reserves and throw them into counterattack to try to stop us. So that's when we decided to reconfigure, to start to take defensive positions and start repelling their counteroffensive at this moment. And we've been rather successful in that. And I have to highlight that they're already throwing their golden reserves into the fight, while we are not. And we've been successful in throwing them back. And actually, after we threw them out, we continued our push forward. In some parts of the front, it's a very small push, it's dozens of yards, but in the other parts of the front, it's additional kilometer or over. And this is a very difficult task, especially without having air superiority and having too many landmines and artillery targeting our positions. We're still pushing. And also, as a good factor, we can show that we destroyed another Ka-52 helicopter that they're using to try to target our armor, and they don't have too many of those. We do rather successfully shoot them down. I think at the beginning of war they had about 150 or so, and we already downed at least a quarter of them. If there are some other numbers, it's a little difficult for me to be too precise, so I'm giving you ballpark estimates because I'm en route, but this is roughly the scale. And this is one of their main means that they're using to repel, to stop our counteroffensive, and they're already suffering losses with this kind of weapons. But you can understand that we do suffer some losses too as we proceed across the minefields that are also being covered by the artillery, by some of their armor that they can throw at us, and their infantry. And we have already crossed the first and the second lines of their defense, even under these conditions. And they threw some of the best brigades, special brigades. The 45th Brigade, Special Brigade of Russia, was always their golden fund. And they had to throw it to stop us there. And even that somewhat failed. That means that they brought basically last reserves they have. And this is just the beginning of that counteroffensive. Our reserves are not even fighting yet. We have not touched operative reserves and not even strategic reserves as Putin does. And here's what is usually happening. If you imagine the front line, reserves are usually being held further out, equidistant from the front, so you can bring it to the part where it's failing. And basically, if they throw these reserves into some direction, it is nearly impossible to move them in a different direction where that starts to sag. So the first one to touch the reserves usually loses. And they have not used all of their reserves yet, but we can already see that they're using their golden nails to stop our counteroffensive. That brigade is one of the best, the 45th. And if it is fighting, that means that they really in a bad position. They basically threw the cream de la cream and they're fighting. So we'll see. We'll see how it unfolds further. All right. What about Bahmut direction? What's happening there? Yeah, we need to remember Bakhmut because due to events in Zaporozhye, there are a lot of things happening there as well. There in Bakhmut, 80th paratroopers and the 3rd Storm Brigades. Actually, I think there is a brigade. And some other detachments also, by the way, originally from Russia, who are fighting there. And they are continuing their push to the north and to the south and are taking dozens and hundreds of yards a day, changing the situation on the battlefront and working on putting a big question mark over the Russian capability to even hold Bakhmut. So that's the story that is happening up there. All right, thank you. And let's move forward. In the context of what we were discussing, let's touch the topic of Prigozhin. We do touch him daily, but it does have some development. At the meeting with the so-called military correspondents, Putin said that answering the question about signing the contract with the military, with the defense ministry, he was answering the question about legalizing the status of private mercenary corps because, according to Russian laws, such a military detachment is illegal. So Putin was insisting that Wagner needs to sign a contract with Ministry of Defense answering this question, and it would appear that Prigozhin has lost this position with Putin, and Putin is, I think, using this tool to liquidate private mercenary corps in its current view, in its current situation. No, Mark. I don't think that's what's happening. I think they will create a special exclusion for Wagner. I don't think it'll put them at risk of being disbanded. Why? Why do you think so? Because I think they are very closely related to Zolotov and to FSB and to gold and other financial resources of Putin's oligarchs. So a chicken like that, or a hen that bears golden eggs like that, they usually are not being thrown into the soup. So in Russia, dumb laws, as we know, are compensated with very selected application of them. So I don't think it will have any severe consequences for Wagner. We'll see, but this is my position on this matter. We'll see. Okay, thank you, Olexiy. It doesn't cancel the desire of Minister of Defense of Russia and General Command to cancel Wagner. Right, of course, we understand that Minister of Defense would want to, but who would give them? I have a feeling that Wagner is backed seriously by FSB because it is a very convenient tool to have. You can throw him at Kadyrov, you can attack military. A situation when one of the departments of the country cannot, in the open, act against other departments, this is a very convenient tool to have to do that, to carry that for you. So I don't think they will go into disbanding Wagner as a result of this juxtaposition and their statements. And it's not too much time left, right? It's only 2 weeks left to the 1st of July that Putin put in his statement. So yeah, we have those 2 weeks, right? 2 to 3 weeks, exactly, to see what happens. All right, then let's comment on one more thing. In one of the previous streams, we discussed the situation with Serbia and the fact that the last crisis in Kosovo and Mitrovica, revealed that situation in Serbia and their position is actually supported by Pentagon. So here's what I'm reading from the article. Platinum Wolf training involving NATO and non-NATO countries started in near Bujanovo on the south of Serbia, and they're being conducted regardless of an earlier moratorium adopted by Serbian government. So basically, yeah, there are now NATO trainings happening on the territory of Serbia. And I was prognosticating that a while ago, that they will try to integrate Serbia as much as they can into the structures of European Union and NATO in order to kick another stool from under Kremlin's feet in Southern Europe. Because that Serbian support of Moscow is always exaggerated. That's another myth. Yeah, it is one of the common mythology elements in Russia. And that motion towards Europe and NATO is very serious there. And regarding these trainings, they're basically showing to all the interesting parties, all the capable forces in the region, that NATO will be acting if there is any threat. Like in that old joke about the forester coming and kicking everybody out of the forest who are playing war in there. Kosovo basically is a country that lives on the international guarantees, and I think essentially they convinced the country that this is a better way forward, and this is a signal they're sending to all the parties in power that no shenanigans should be undertaken in that region. All right. We have been live for about 18 minutes and a half. We have about 177,000 with us. 56,000 click the like button. Please continue doing that. This is important. Apologies for the quality. Olexiy is on the move. You can basically see that in his background. So click the like button if you can. And I would ask you to subscribe to Feygin Live and to Olexiy Arestovych channel in the description to that video, and of course to the privateer station if you are listening or watching that in English. Did you follow the fake story about the elimination of Dilimkhanov, the closest ally or aide to Kadyrov? So what would you say about this story? What is the reason for it to be peddled by Kadyrov for half a day? Well, there was not nothing. We actually did shell their column. So can you support that the base of Bahmut was destroyed in Primorsk? I cannot affirm the base, but I did check with our specialist that the column was actually shot up. And if Dilimkhanov was not there and did not die with that column, we could see also that we saw the fake account of that commander who was supposedly captured by Wagner troops, who popped up for a sec on Twitter and also said that Prigozhin was the one who helped Ukraine target Kadyrov troops. And we can see that these parties are now doing the best they can. They are attacking each other. private mercenary corps, Wagner, is attacking Kadyrov, Kadyrov is attacking Wagner, and military is also trying to attack Wagner as well. So do you think Telimkhanov could be wounded? He is not being shown anywhere. I don't know if he was there. Maybe, but I don't have details about him. The column was hit, and we have some confirmations about number of deaths there, but we still need to check. And as you said before, there is an easy way to stop all these gossips. Just show Dylan Khanov, show that he is alive. He's a deputy of Congress there. He's a congressman over there. So, and Russian people do want to know, right? So, might as well just show him and reveal that he is okay. Right. I would support that and say if Kadyrov is canceling this information and saying that Dilim Khanov is okay, why Dilim Khanov himself doesn't come up? Right. He was pretty active. He was recording some video messages before. Of course, he was. And this is why until we see him back in the media alive, then this question, whether he's alive or not, will be rather sharp. It'll be hanging up in the air, and the best confirmation that he's okay is him appearing in the stream, in the media, and making that statement. All right. Basically, one day before that fake news, he actually supposedly went to see Gladkov, governor the Belgorod region, and supposedly governor agreed with Ahmad battalion that that battalion will be carrying out police duties and will be also providing defense of the border from Legion of Russia and Russian Volunteer Corps, the guys who are conducting anti-Putin operations on the border regions in Russia. And according to news, near Kazinka, Kadyrov troops are already taking service and positions that is near that village that was previously attacked by volunteer corps. And Prigozhin did exchange a few messages with White Rex, commander of Russian Volunteer Corps. He was actually addressing him by the first name, Denis. Let's exchange some prisoners, and he was stating that he will be eager to provide some cover for the Belgorod region. And instead of him, it is Ahmad now, right? It's Kadyrov troops. Well, yeah, instead of him, there are other forces. And Prigozhin would want to, but he couldn't get it. And the difference is, I think, that Kadyrov has a direct phone line to Putin, and the phone will be picked up, while Prigozhin doesn't anymore. So their position is not equal. As for having Kadyrov troops in Belgorod region, I think Russian Volunteer Corps and Legion, Freedom of Russia, have not gathered this kind of scalps, exotic ones, in their fighting earlier, but I think they already fought in the same region with Kadyrov. So, it'll be interesting for them, I think, to find that new opponent and try to take over them. Okay, thank you. Next item I wanted to bring up is surprising breath of new life into fake of heavy wounding of Budanov, the head of Ukrainian military intelligence. Russia is publishing that Budanov was wounded at the attack of the 29th of May when the missile hit the neighbor office, referring to secret sources in Russian military. And they did say that same thing before about Zaluzhny, and Zaluzhny came out without any surgery traces and was just fine. And, well, there was one video of Budanov after that, right? Where he was quiet and smiling. Right, cunningly smiling. I do know that building, actually, every square meter of that building, and I do know where the missile hit. That place is very far from the office of Budanov. I did talk to Budanov after this. I did speak with him. Hello, do you hear me? Yeah, the quality is floating a little. Yeah, sorry, we're passing through some mountains. So I was talking with Budanov after that, and he very much did not look like anyone who suffered anything. When did you talk to him? Well, probably 3 days ago. He did not look like Not just heavily wounded, but too, I don't know, he didn't seem like even a wind blew at him. So all these are stories of the Viennese forest, and they're funny. They only work, as we discussed before, they need to do something, so they're doing that something. Okay, let's hope, let's hope. And the head of International Atomic Commission, Grossi, did make a statement that the Zaporozhye nuclear power station has enough water so far to cool the reactors. He indeed flew in, and they accepted him there and let him inspect the facility after the explosion and the flooding of Kakhovskaya power station. So, what can you comment on this? Well, the station itself was powered down because nobody wants to take a risk, because it has six nuclear reactors, one of the biggest power stations in Europe, and even Russians understand that. But still, the presence of Russian troops there, their manner of storing supplies and ammo on the territory of power station, this definitely does not add to alleviation of any risks in that zone. And given how ass-handedly they did carry out the explosion of the Kakhovskaya dam, there is always a risk that something will happen wrong with power station. And I would say, yeah, if they can do any favor to Europe in general, they might want to fight in a different area, not near that station. As a nuclear object, as a military object, it doesn't carry any value. It also doesn't have any civilian value at the moment. But they did, by the way, remember how they took Chernobyl station? They brought people there, their soldiers, occupied it for a while, and then left. So I think they're still using it as a blackmail in general, and Grossi generally could have made a statement in this regard. But as most international bureaucrats, he is very careful, or he understands things, but he cannot speak about many of them. And we do not have these breaks. We can speak out in the open that this indeed is a blackmail of international community by Russian Federation. And there's no real military reason for them to hold it. What are they holding that for? To expect to fight for it? So in the best scenario, they would just leave that area and move their troops someplace else to help their other brigades in the other hot parts of the front, towards Orekhova maybe, or some other direction, or Vasilevska. Okay, tell me please, have you watched the interview which was given to Skabeva by Lukashenko, president of Belarus, so-called president of Belarus? I saw excerpts of this interview, yes. So he's making statements there that de facto nuclear warheads are already on the territory of Belarus, and he will not waver if he needs to use them to repel any aggression directed at the territory of Belarus. I think he is speaking about his own safety, and in his mind, it equals the safety of Belarus. Right. Closing his eyes modestly, he's saying that I am the government, I am the Belarus. I think it's his wet fantasies because the use of these nukes, and because to use nuclear weapons, it needs to be decision needs to be made by seven people, a chain of at least seven people in Russian Federation, and President of Belarus has no relation to that chain. He, by the way, really puts Putin under possible attack. How? How do you mean? Well, first of all, he did mention that Ukraine and Russia were supposedly discussing a rent of Crimea. And from the point of view of Russian current law, this is traitorship to try to agree with the enemy. This is direct traitorship because Crimea, they take it as the territory of Russia. How are you negotiating about its rent, right? So that's one. And second time, he put Putin under fire, stating that he can use nukes. If for a second you imagine that it is true, this is a blatant, glaring violation of international agreements about transfer of nukes to a third party, to a non nuclear country. I don't think he understands what he is saying. I don't know if his aides are telling him that he made a mistake, but in essence, he put Putin at least on two occasions under possible attacks, and one cannot find even any relevant violation, any more blatant violation of the international agreement about non-proliferation of nuclear weapons. So I think, yeah, I'm not really listening much to him because he's so out of touch with reality that no normal people can even react to his statements. In a usual normal world, if a normal politician would say something like that, reaction would have been much stronger. But right now, this is such a clown shit show that nobody is even reacting to his slips and blunders. Okay, we've been over 30 minutes live. Your connection is so we will not continue too long today, but we do have one last question I thought to bring up. Did you see the singers Baskov and Leps in Russia promised to pay million rubles for every destroyed Leopard tank? And they do hope to raise enough money so that it all can be donated to soldiers who destroyed supposedly all Ukrainian tanks. And Leps, of course, he was drunk habitually. So the question is, yeah, now they're raising money for the payments to their military for the destruction of leopards. So I think they're exposing themselves as possible targets for, you know, perhaps Ukrainian special services. In your view, do you think it's a good position for the Russian performers to put themselves into some fundraising for tanks destruction? Mark, I would think artists should be pretty far, should keep themselves, try to stay away from that politics because war comes and goes, but they still have a long life to live, and their life depends upon their performance. Well, performance and Baskov, Olexiy, that's very art and Baskov are very different things. Well, right, but I don't know if, anybody will want to reach them or chase Leps and Baskov. I don't think they will consider them as legit targets. I think Russian people will make their own judgment about the statements made by these performers. I've seen statements made in public in different communications that people are saying that they're now becoming legit targets. Well, yeah, Mark, that's a natural story. If you're declaring that you'll be fundraising to fight the country, people in that other country might start fundraiser to destroy you as well. It's just we do have a lot more bigger targets and more issues that we need to address, so they're definitely not on the top priority list. But okay, we do apologize for the quality, and you think we can do another stream on Saturday? Everything will be all right? Yeah, we will have a good connection on Saturday. Okay, then please come back on Saturday. We do have the stream, the usual times. We have over 200,000 watching us now, so please continue sharing, clicking the like button, and continue subscribing to Feygin Live, Olexiy Arestovych and the Privateer Station. Mark, how is it? 200,000 are watching and only 74 click the like button. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe the quality of sound. That's, yeah, I don't have any explanations. All right. Goodbye to everybody. See you on Saturday.